would you guys be able to introduce yourselves, a little bit of background on your careers, how you guys got to hit this point in esports?
Sure. So yeah, I'll kick it off. I'm Frederik. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of REUNITED. I got into esports like 10 years ago. I used to play myself as a Battlefield player, as a QuakeWatch player for Team Dignitas, and then I retired kind of, and I went into education and so on, and now I'm back on the management side. And yeah, I got Christian involved as well.
Yeah, I'm Christian. I have no previous background in esports, but this summer I got a call from Frederik asking me to join REUNITED on the management side. So I did. I met Fred back when we studied at Stanford last summer, and actually back then we already talked about starting an esports business. So yeah, I was obviously really excited when he asked me to join REUNITED.
Awesome. Yeah, so the big announcement obviously this weekend is the 2017 Overwatch League that's been announced. So we've heard quite a few things, mainly one's going to be a player combine where they'll be able to give owners and teams a better idea of like who's a good player or not. And then there's also the regional aspect, which is kind of like more of traditional sports. This is kind of looking at like your Manchester United's, like your Barcelona's, and stuff like that. You know, what is your take on this? Do you feel like this is a system that will mesh properly with the way that esports is currently structured?
So we had our concerns about it, I think, and initially we were like, no, you know, esports is very global. It's truly international. You don't have to be hooked up to some geographical spot in that sense. But then, just looking at the World Cup, how you're able to activate people around the world and how you're able to tap into like local communities, and also just from a whole advertising standpoint, you're able to get these local sponsorships, advertisement things. It opens up for a whole new revenue stream in that sense. And then just also for the whole, I mean, what's going on here is that Blizzard wants to activate normal sports teams, and if you want to get them involved, then the way this is structured and for them to grasp it and for them to enter this league, it just makes a lot of sense. And I also think it's great for sponsors, like I already said, and just for Overwatch and for the industry in general, just to get more mainstream and so forth. Then this makes perfect sense from like a revenue standpoint and how to develop it.
Yeah, I mean, esports fundamentally have the problem that the industry has no clue on how to make money off the fan base. And yeah, everybody knows statistics, like esports make, I think, $1 per fan, whereas NFL makes 60. So I mean, unless somebody can figure out an alternative way that's not just modeling the traditional sports model, then I think this is honestly the only option. Because like, we need localized merchandise, we need localized sponsorships, we need localized ticketing, like all those traditional revenue streams. And if you can't unlock them in a virtual way, then like this is the only option, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. So currently we're in a very weird time for Overwatch, where we're competing with kind of like a lot of these big names like Dota, like League of Legends, like Hearthstone, and Counter-Strike. You know, what do you think Overwatch is doing well? Like we obviously mentioned before, kind of like with the World Cup is a great way to kind of activate markets worldwide. What do you think is like within the game really makes Overwatch such a standout game?
Yeah, okay, so like esports in itself and games and so on, people often jump towards the new titles and so on, and what Overwatch does is that it merges these two genres, kind of, like shooter games and mobile games, in a space where you haven't really seen any titles previously. Now there's a lot of competition, but I mean, it's still a very new space, and I think it just, it adds this. I'm not going to say that Counter-Strike has no depth, because it has a lot of depth, but what you see in Overwatch, this whole like meta game and the whole strategy thing is just, it has like visitors say themselves, like what is it, easy to play, hard to master, or something like that, and that just makes a lot of sense. And that's also why I think this game is so interesting for so many people. And yeah.
Yeah, I think basically if you look at like the other, we call them top tier esports, that being League of Legends, Dota, Hearthstone, and CS, I think Overwatch is really the only potentially big esports actually built for esports. I mean, Riot had to invent esports basically themselves. I mean, CS obviously stems back from, I guess, in the 90s, and like Dota is the same story as with Riot and Hearthstone. I think we was made more by accident than really anything, and then so has the esports scene. So I think that's where Overwatch, Overwatch has this ability to get it right from the start. Like, the games are shorter, so you can you make room for ads. The maps are beautiful, and then can easily implement like a lot of this like the things that we're going to see, I believe. But yeah, I think that's the fundamental difference. I think that's why it's going to be fundamentally better than the other esports. It's built with this in mind.
Yeah. So Reunited is in a very interesting situation where it was formed kind of as a player-owned organization, and obviously with kind of like Blizzard taking more proprietary control of like the competitive Overwatch League and stuff like that, there's obviously a weird balance between the player representation and then the team owner and also like the developer representation. So Reunited being that very interesting situation, where do you guys kind of like really see all those different aspects meshing together? Do you feel like, is there anything Blizzard needs to do to make sure that every part of it is being represented correctly?
I mean, there's, I don't know. It's also just saying that there's some stuff we can't talk about here. So, but I mean, it's a challenge for us as a team, because we're so small and we're just funded by angels, and that's where we are right now. So we have to level up to be part of this league, and we have to find out how we're going to do that. And Blizzard is very open about that, and we're talking with them about it, and they're helping us out. But I think, because it's basically you're getting an industry or people from the normal sports industry more interested in this league and Blizzard is actively trying to get them involved as well. And it's like it's in two industries, like the traditional esports teams and then sports teams who are like at different levels right now, and now they have to meet somehow. So I think you're going to see I think you're going to see at least a lot of esports teams getting an alliance, or you say with traditional sports teams, and trying to meet and somehow get the best from both worlds and meet somewhere in between. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can elaborate a bit, because I think we are in a sort of a unique position, because Reunited was founded for Overwatch, and obviously the rise of the league that Frederik already touched upon all of the points. I mean, we can't go out and pay millions for a spot. We can't obviously go out and build this huge infrastructure, but what we have been doing and always have been doing is be super knowledgeable about Overwatch. So, I mean, I think we still have one of the best teams in the world. I think we have more know-how than basically any other org in Overwatch. So I mean, I actually think that it's just when you're in an industry like this, it's developing alongside your company developing. Like there's just factors that you really can't deal with. So you have to adapt, and I think we're in a good position to adapt. I mean, it's inevitable that the cash requirements in esports is going to rise. So now we just have to deal with them today and not in 2 years. So.
Yeah, so I actually want to talk a little bit about more like the investor side of it and the kind of the money side of it. A lot of big money has kind of been reaching to the scene recently from Europe. We've definitely seen PSG recently reaching to esports, as well as from the NBA side, the 76ers buying Apex and Dignitas, as well as the Warriors and everyone buying into Liquid. I talked with like Reynad before this thing more about like kind of the bubble that's forming in terms of esports and the amount of money that's being generated. Do you have a similar view where do you feel like a bubble is forming in esports where we're overvaluing a lot of contracts and teams, or do you feel like we're in a good path?
I think it's. I mean, I always learned from a really big investor that we can't be in a bubble when everybody talks about it being a bubble, because in that case it wouldn't be a bubble. I honestly think that what people are not realizing here is that these teams are not just pricing player contracts, they're not just pricing teams at their current state, they're pricing an opportunity. And the price of that opportunity, that can just vary wildly, because a lot of people are going to have a completely different perception of what is that opportunity worth. And obviously, I mean, if you just look at Liquid, if you look at Team Dignitas, are all their assets, are they worth what they're getting bought out for? Probably not. But what is the opportunity worth? I think this is often something that's neglected in this bubble talk. It's that you're buying into an opportunity and you're buying into know-how. And at this point, that is super valuable, I believe. Yeah,
I mean, pretty much said it, but I think the opportunity is there, and I don't think there's any doubt that people are going to find out how to change the fact that the fans only use $1 on esports a year. I think it's just a matter of time before we see how they're going to change that. And I mean, I don't know if I would call it a bubble. I would call it just high expectations. I mean, makes sense.
Looking into more of the way that esports has kind of been adopted as a medium, currently a lot more of Overwatch and other esports is being broadcasted as live streamed, Twitch and other means like that. However, there have been movements to kind of have it on television, for example, with E-League and as far back as MLG. Do you feel like television is the correct medium that we really should be reaching out for, or do you feel like we're in a good position right now with where we are with live streaming?
Yeah, I think live streaming haven't been utilized fully yet, and I think we should keep on doing that. And I think we should see TV in esports as something supplementing the online streaming and what Twitch is doing and so forth. I don't think it's something we should move towards, but I think it's really nice adding it on, because that will make an easier entrance for all the mainstream actors like sponsors and partners, because that's what they're familiar with, and that's where they can see that actually you get a lot of value from sponsoring esports teams.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the numbers. I mean, E-League had 3 times the viewership that Gamescom had, which was Twitch exclusive. I mean, for me, it's like not really a discussion about mediums and stuff like this, because you have to go where the fans are. And if the fans are proven to be on television, then you have to be on television. I mean, it's. I mean, I love Twitch, but I mean, clearly a lot of people also love the television. And I don't think that moving like only towards Twitch should be like the goal. The goal should be to spread out esports to everybody who's might potentially have an interest in esports.
Yeah, so I just want to dissect more about the kind of like the European esports scene versus the NA esports scene. So in Europe, I think esports actually has like a pretty good grounds of growth. So Mouse Sports is a very recognizable German team. You know, France obviously has their specific teams. Maybe MBS or Titan being the well-known names. What do you think? And I would arguably say, this is maybe a point that you kind of refute, I think that esports grows better in Europe than it does in North America as a whole. Do you agree with this? And also, what do you think makes esports grow well in a country?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of difficulties for esports in Europe, being like the, you know, like for us, for instance, like sponsors and partners, and so they all have local budgets, and we have a lot of different languages in Europe. So in that sense, it's much harder and it's much more complicated, more complex for it to grow, and the logistics and just, you know, the money there is just another level compared to the US. So that's what makes it easier in the US, and that's why it's been growing faster until now. And it's still, I don't know if it still does, but I mean, EU is catching up, but I think it's just harder, and it's more complex, and you need to be able to hit all the different regions of Europe. You would say so. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's another great example of of why we cannot completely neglect like the regional aspects of esports, because like in terms of what makes esports grow, I think it's a mix of obviously many things, but I think obviously the population of gamers, I guess also the fan, I would say, age, because I for one think that actually the amount of money that fans can expend on esports is super critical, and just right now we see that fans are spending more in the US, and yeah, I honestly think that sponsorship is the major blocking stone in Europe, because we're incorporated in Denmark, for instance. We can't talk to Danish sponsors because our audience is not Danish. And then, like Frederik said, their budget is for Denmark. So if we want to have a sponsor that we can maybe get in contact with, say, the country manager of Coke in Denmark, well, we need to talk to the global guys at Coke, and that's a completely different. That's a completely different challenge, and that's the Europe's, I think, from money side, the base problem. And then, I mean, of course, it's broadcasting, but I mean, yeah, I think we've seen, like, especially LCS, that you can broadcast it to the entire Europe if you broadcast in English. But I mean, that is the biggest, I think, blocking stone.
But it's also an opportunity.
Of course.
Yeah.
The Asian scene kind of growing as well as a lot of Asian teams doing a lot better. But if we look at the top 10 teams, the majority of it is a European team. However, you know, Blizzard itself is largely based in kind of like in California. Do you feel like there's any distance between Europe and the developers, or do you feel like they've been very good about kind of keeping the communications open?
I think you can answer.
Yeah, I don't think that this. No, I don't see any. I mean, no, I think. I mean, we were involved since November as well, pretty much from the start of the beta, and they've been involving. I mean, we're just the fact that we're invited here, like some of the NA teams. I mean, I think it's pretty much the same for us and the US teams. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So let's jump on to some fun questions about stuff in general. So I've asked this for a lot of people. If you could marry one Overwatch character, who would it be?
Sombra?
I don't know. I think Diva is pretty cool. Okay. She's just a robot. I mean, come on, like a 2-for-1 package.
Okay. So another good question. So how did you guys come up with the name Reunited?
Yeah. So I mean, it's based on the fact that all these players and myself, we knew each other beforehand, and most of the core of the players played at Fnatic, but they also played with like Winghaven previously, also for Fnatic, and we came together, reunited around this vision of creating our own team. So that was like where the name sparked from, I guess.
So was it a purpose marketing decision that Reunited is all in caps, or was that just like, when you guys made it, like someone got to turn off caps?
No. It's we've had discussion about it, and we might even change it. So
because I've always been writing my articles with Reunited all in caps. I assume that's like what the team is, and you don't want to change that as well. So if you could kind of add a new feature into Overwatch, meaning like a new like whether it be from a different game or even be like, for example, an observer or something like that, what would you add from another?
I would. Okay, I'll take mine. I think Christian has one as well, probably, but just more data. Just being able to see, like, I understand why they don't want to have it in quick play and in competitive play even, because it can easily add a lot of toxicity and so forth when you play online. But for the pros, it makes a lot of sense to just be able to see, like, who's the best Lucio, who makes over this competition, who was the best healer, right? Being able to see that, because I mean, to be honest, I think there's some players out there right now who's free riding because it's not truly transparent, and I mean, it's fine, but I think at the top level it should be possible, and we need this data, and it also just makes this whole spectator experience and the casting much more interesting when you have all these data points and you can point out like who's actually performing well, and this was actually pretty sick. He did something very extraordinary which you probably wouldn't even have spotted if you didn't know about the data.
Yeah, well, that was my point. I mean, in terms of esports, and this is something I recognize should happen in many games, I feel like customization in terms of like teams, colors, team banners, maybe even customized maps. So say Reunited is defending this map, then like part of the map turns orange or in orange colors. I mean, that is always something that I feel like there's a huge opportunity for esports where you can do something really that traditional sports can't just do. Like they can't just like color their fields all the time. It's like that is something that I would love to see more of, like especially like in-game branding of like teams when we play. I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so we've obviously had a lot of big investors, a lot of big teams enter the scene. If you guys could pick the next big organization, next big team, next big person to enter the scene, who would you guys pick?
Like traditional esports team, or just
any like kind of like it could be a traditional team, it could be anything else, anything.
I mean, you're gonna see you're gonna see a lot of big sports teams getting into esports. Yeah, but I'm not gonna say any names.
I just have to say, since I was 5 years old, I've been a huge Manchester United supporter. I would love to see these guys enter. And if you read this, like, really, I hope you will. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's honestly, that'd be great. I would love to see a lot more teams kind of enter the scene as well. I think as well, especially in Europe, there's so much great like club unity, especially since like we can take a look back in Germany, obviously, Bayern Munich, obviously a big name, and Dortmund as well. So a lot of different big names that can enter the scene. I think there was at one point talks about Manchester United coming in, a big conversation. Maybe that's not the place to necessarily talk about it. But so, do you guys have any shout outs to your fans and your sponsors before we have this interview?
I mean, we would love to say thanks to our followers and following our fans. I mean, they've been supporting us pretty much since the start, and been supporting the underdog, the guys who broke out of the big organization and tried to build something up, and it's been amazing. And I mean, we've made it really far, and now we're almost into the pro league. I mean, let's see. And then of course to our sponsors and partners who believed in us, like Sennheiser and Zoe, who got on board very early, and even though it was really very risky for them, they also liked what we were doing and so forth.
I'd like to make a shout out to our Discord community, because we have the most awesome Discord community that is always active, and they're always engaging with us. They're always talking to the players, and then we're so humbled to see how many people are willing to actually spend their free time talking and thinking about Reunited. That's just amazing, especially because we know that we're still a new organization, and seeing people on the community. I mean, and if you're a Reunited fan and not in the community, come join us. Like, we'd love to hear your opinion, and talk to you.
All right, awesome. And thank you guys so much for this interview. Obviously, if you want to catch more interviews, check us out at GosuGamers.net, as well as follow us on Twitter at GosuOverwatch. Good luck, guys. Obviously, good luck with the rest of the development, as well as proceeding maybe into the Overwatch League next year, as well as good luck in Apex in Korea, where you guys I think are immediately after this break, you guys are heading back and getting ready to resume the rest of the season. So good luck in that as well. And thank you guys so much for the interview.
Thanks, I appreciate it.